Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Roast.
And I'm Jessica Bun Bun.
We have made it, guys. This is our Yellowstone Season 5, Episode 14 reaction and review. Because of recent headlines over the past several days, I think we can definitively call this now the series finale. There might still be a Beth and Rip spinoff, but that's going to be a spinoff. It does not appear that is Season 6. This is the end of this particular story.
Yeah, I mean, once you're taking the sign down to the Yellowstone Ranch, it's done. I mean, it's been sold to Rainwater. Everybody's leaving. The house is being dismantled. Kids are kicking over gravestones. It is over. The whole thing is done.
Yeah. So are we happy that the whole thing is done? My answer here is no. And I don't necessarily think that this is not How I Met Your Mother. This is not the original Dexter or Dexter New Blood. We're not talking about that level of a disaster of a finale. But I mean, series finales are really, really hard to nail. I mean, there can only be so many that actually do a great job. Like, I think Breaking Bad is an excellent series finale. I think
Six Feet Under.
6 Feet Under is an iconic one. I will defend the finale for The Affair. The rest of the show, deeply problematic, but the finale, pretty good. Even Superman and Lois earlier this year, really good series finale. This had some good moments, had some great moments, and it had a lot of problems.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem for me was just that it was very predictable. I felt like each scene I was going into, I knew what was coming. It was a very safe finale. I think there's going to be a lot of people that will find it satisfying because it really tied everything up, how they were able to sort of save the ranch, which is saving the land. It didn't go to Jamie. Jamie is dead. Bye, Beth. Like, everything was really, it all fit together with a really nice bow. So if you're looking for walking away from it being like, yes, I got everything I wanted, I feel all right about that, then this is the finale for you. But if you're looking for something that you're walking away from where you're just like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened, we're going to be talking about this finale for years to come, I don't think it is that type of finale. This is not a finale that I'm going to be talking about for years to come.
Okay. In just a moment, I am going to pull out the great sword and I am going to do battle with all prospective commenters here in this video. But before we get to that, be sure to hit that subscribe button because, yes, Yellowstone may be over, but we are looking at covering the remainder of the upcoming Taylor Sheridan Yellowstone universe, which includes 1923 season 2 is premiering for that in February. And then there is also The Madison, a spinoff that I'm kind of surprised has not gotten more publicity because I know it's been filming for a while. And then you do have the Beth and Rip spinoff, which I guess isn't official, but guys, it's official. It's going to happen.
Yeah, it feels like it's happening. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. And thank you so much to everyone who has been with us through this Yellowstone journey. This was a show that I didn't expect to love as much as I did. I mean, this is not sort of my background, ranching, country life, but this show really showed me that this is for everyone. This show reached everyone. It didn't matter what your background was, if you were familiar with this type of lifestyle. Yellowstone is a really special show in that way.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why this became one of the biggest shows on all TV. And I think it just reached a lot of demographics, a lot of places in the country. And here's where I think we start to contend, and I'm getting out the sword, because I feel that really the job of a series finale should be to leave a lasting impression and to kind of make people stop and think about what it is they just saw and have discussions about it and really leave people in a spot where they're taking away something as opposed to just being like, well, that happened and it's exactly what I thought it was going to be. And this is why I will even defend the finale of The Sopranos, which I know made a ton of people really, really mad. But you know what? I'm fine with coming away from something feeling like it's representative or it's worthy of some element of discussion. It's just something that really makes you feel something. And yeah, this finale did have some moments that absolutely did it. And I don't want to shortchange them with that, but you laid it out. It's just every single thing in this finale. I mean, we talked in advance about how Rainwater was going to end up with the ranch. We
Yep.
talked in advance about how Jamie was going to die.
Yep.
This is a show that, for better or worse, has taken a lot of big swings over the years, killed a lot
Yeah.
of people off. We've been mad about Colby for weeks, and it's just, you guys didn't do any of that in this finale. You were almost too afraid to make people mad that you didn't really do anything.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's a series finale and they do want to wrap things up. And I will say that I appreciate that they did wrap things up. There are lots of series finales that wrap nothing up, and then you're just kind of like, what? Just why did I go on this journey? Nothing is really wrapped up. But it's also nice to have most things wrapped up where there still feels like there could be a little bit more. My biggest bee in the bonnet here with this is the Jamie storyline. I've made it no secret that I really enjoyed watching the Jamie character because Jamie was very flawed. He was a great villain. There was so much history there with him and his family and him losing two fathers. Like, he's just such a flawed, cowardly, weaselly, also well-spoken character. Like,
Yeah.
there's so many different layers to him. And I just felt like, okay, we're going to get to the point that Beth is going to kill Jamie. This has been going on. She made that promise. That promise was
Yeah.
coming. We all felt like he was going to the train station. Cool. I was ready for it. I'm waiting for it. And I expected to feel more when it actually happened. I mean, the fight scene was pretty crazy. Like, there was a lot of intense moments there. But I think the second half of the season really dropped the ball on what the story is, which for me was finding out that Jamie had a part to play with John Dutton's death and having Casey and Beth really deal with that in a way that, this is a big deal. Like, they have grown up with him. He is their brother, whether by blood or adoption. This is their brother, and this is a huge betrayal. It feels like Jamie has barely been a whisper on this season. He has barely been on it. So the build up to this, it was going really well. Seasons like 1 to 4 and even the beginning of season 5, it was building. And then Jamie was a ghost. So by the time we got to this big, huge like reveal here at the end and they're having their confrontation, it just felt like the buildup was gone.
I will give Wes and Kelly a lot of credit for the choreography of that fight scene. I think
Really good.
the physical intensity was 100% there. It was scary and unpredictable and
10 out of
chaotic.
10.
All of that was excellent. I think my big problem is twofold. I think one, I think there's a pretty big case that they made Jamie a ghost. And I think if they made him a ghost, they made him a cartoon ghost because they basically turned him into a cartoon character in these final episodes of the show, where I always hated Jamie. Don't get me wrong. Jamie's a terrible person, but what made him interesting was that he was so much a product of his upbringing, feeling cast out from his family. John wasn't always nice to him. Beth wasn't always nice to him. He did some terrible things himself that are
Yes.
unforgivable. But it was also just this situation where he turned out this way for a reason. And it just felt like nobody else on the show wanted to take any responsibility for that at all and just wanted to label everything as purely Jamie's fault. And it turned him into this just mustache twirling caricature. Oh, I'm going to be the attorney general and I'm going to stop the land. And I just always thought that he was deeper than that. And I really wanted to wait until the finale to get some of this off my chest, just because I wanted to kind of give Taylor the benefit of the doubt here that, okay, we might be going somewhere more with Jamie than what I'm really seeing, because he's caught up in his grief. He's caught up with everything with Sarah. But because we didn't have much time with him in the finale, and what we did was just pure melodramatic bad guy, it just didn't leave me feeling that great. Yeah, I'm glad that Death and Rip obviously have a little bit of peace in their lives. Beth has never really had that much peace. I'm really happy for her as a character, but I just think we lost a lot of the nuance along the way.
Especially since Beth wanted this revenge, she says for John, and part of it is for John, but a part of it is for her as well. And I wish they kind of had talked a little bit about that it's for her dad, but there is a part of her that has wanted revenge for what happened to her so long ago by Jamie. And I think it would have been really powerful to have acknowledged that, yeah, she's doing it for dad. She's also doing it for herself. And that it's not just she wants Jamie dead. She wants Jamie like buried under the
Yes.
ranch. She wants his reputation ruined. Nothing about him is going to be okay. And that felt really satisfying. I mean, Jamie's a complicated character. There are some things that are a product of his environment, but he's also an adult that made some decisions that he
Yes.
shouldn't have made. He's made some horrible decisions. They've all made pretty difficult, bad decisions.
Yeah.
I mean, the train station exists. That shouldn't be a thing if you're a good person, right? You're murdering people and taking them out to the middle of nowhere to just be dumped. That's not a great thing either, no matter what the reason is. So for Beth, I think this all needed to play out the way that it did. Not just a death for a death. It wasn't enough. And I think she really got what she needed to be able to have that moment at the end where she was like, "Oh, I hope you like this ranch because I already bought it." And where they're out there and they're rebuilding their life. And for the first time, we really had her say, I'm happy. Happiness is coming in for me, and it's something that she's needed.
Yeah, like that part of it was satisfying, and
Very satisfying.
it would have been cool to see more moments with Jamie and this conflict along the way to build
Yes.
towards that, to have it be more complicated and juicy. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, there's a couple of moments in here where the show suckers me in. Like they completely sucker me in anytime we have the train station, anytime we have like Rip doing some complicated procedure in order to cover something up. It's
Yep.
just like they're just throwing a big chunk of red meat to me, the base with this. It's sort of like when Rip picks up the shovel at the burial and it's just like, well, this shovel's getting to work today. There's a part of me that knows it's ridiculous, but there's another part of me that's just like, yeah, Rip, you do this. You dig this grave.
Yeah, that the burial service was really good. It was really well done.
Mhm.
I'm a former funeral director. I've done a ton of funeral services and I've done a ton of burial services. And I have never seen at a burial service anybody actually fill the grave. And I mean, a lot of grave sites won't allow that to happen
Mhm.
anyways. I mean, there's a lot of complicated legalese that goes into it, but this is obviously on their land and they can do whatever they want. But it was definitely an interesting experience for someone like me who has, I've done, I don't even know, 700 burials. I mean, it's so many, and I've never seen anything like that. Sure, I've seen people take handfuls of dirt and put it in, even like a little shovel and like that, but nothing like this.
Yeah, I'm glad you went into that because I was while I was watching it, I was just thinking, I wonder what burial expert Jess is thinking about
Yeah,
how all the various
never.
mechanics of how some of this went down.
No, and if I had to guess, it's because of just sort of the legalese of it that you're not going to have just people digging and if somebody throws their back out or what, I think they're not going to do that.
Yeah, I think the burial service, the actual scene, I think that stuff was pretty well done.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that was kind of interesting too is when Rip was like, "Oh, I'd like to hit the mechanics that's going to have
Yeah.
the casket go down." You've got this preacher here being like, "Oh, well, there's people here to do that." It's okay to let the family do that. We've let
Mhm.
families do that. That is not abnormal. Like he's acting like, "Oh, you can't press the button." Like it's like, yeah, you can press the button. It's okay.
Yeah, as somebody who doesn't have that experience, I was sort of being like, why can't anyone press the button? This feels
Anyone
like
can press the button. It just, you need somebody there to just help with a little bit of the stuff. I mean, some of the stuff he was doing, pulling out the slats and just throwing them or whatever. Yeah, you're going to have a funeral service person there to be able to help you with that, or somebody from the cemetery to help move those things. But press the button, Rip can press the button.
okay. I have some haterade for parts of this finale. I'll get to it a little bit, but I will. I will give some praise here to what I think is the best part of this finale by far, and it's not even close. And that is everything with Rainwater and
Oh,
everything with
so
Casey.
good.
Yeah, Gil Birmingham as an actor, he, without saying anything, his face when this whole offer comes around and he's just basically carrying with him generations of pain on
Yep.
his back, that this is somebody who is finally getting an opportunity to return some of this land to his people with this deal that he never thought would be possible, but is happening for a very specific reason. And
Mhm.
it's this real moment of these two people from totally different backgrounds coming together and sort of understanding, what matters to us more than anything else. It's, taking care of this land and preserving it. And it's just moments like that. This is why I get so mad at Taylor sometimes, because I know he's capable of this, and just for producing this excellent, thought-provoking, emotional stuff. And then you just like contrast this with Billy Bob Thornton's ex and Landman yelling random things, make me want to punch my head through a wall. And
Mm.
it's just like, this was so incredible.
It was signed in ink, signed in blood. It was just such a great moment. I loved Rainwater even saying, yeah, way back when this all started, I basically was threatening your dad to take his land and do what I want with it. And now here we are later, where I still feel like, I want to take the land, but I don't want to do what I had said. Yeah, it was a threat then, but now it's a promise that I'm here to make sure that nothing is built on this. Nothing is going to be taken away from it. Like, yeah, it's not going to be a ranch anymore, but certainly not going to be a shopping mall either. We're not going to let that happen. It was a really so well written. I really loved it.
Yeah, and Casey, good on you, my guy, for being so just like willing to think on the fly when it comes to making the arrangements of this deal. It felt like Casey was
Yeah.
a little bit of a shark in Shark Tank, where he was like, okay, I'll give you all the land here, but in return, I want to make sure it's not used for commercial purposes. I
Yeah.
get to keep my own little residence. Like, he had very reasonable things.
Yeah, and it was really nice to see that emotional reaction from him as well,
Yeah.
where he, signed everything, got the check, and came outside. And at first I was like, is he feeling sadness
Yeah.
for letting it go? No, it's pure relief, where it's just over now. He can move into this next part of his life with his family, have something a bit smaller that's just a working farm for him, for his family, that he feels good about. That was a very satisfying ending. Okay.
Yeah.
Enough of the good stuff. Let's drag something. Let's talk about Taylor Sheridan putting himself so much in this second half. This whole finale starting out with him basically telling an inside joke that none of us are part of. I was just like, I don't know why this is a thing and why we need you to be here. But him taking on Teeter just broke my heart. I would have loved to have seen her go anywhere but here.
I hated this so much. Like, this is the part of the finale that legitimately just made me mad. I mean, first of all, the whole reason why this story existed was so that Taylor had a reason to put himself in the finale. And this is after we already dealt with Taylor putting himself in the penultimate episode. And you know what? I watched it and I didn't like that, obviously. We talked about it at length, but I was sitting there being like, okay, if Taylor's gonna do this, all right, it's good he did it in the penultimate episode, so we'll be done with him and we won't see him in the finale. But it's this idea of, not only is Teeter, who is one of my favorite characters, and I'm already really upset about what happened with Colby because it was totally needless. There was no reason for Colby to die.
So unnecessary.
Yeah, at all. Like, there's surprising deaths, but I would have rather had a surprising death that actually furthered the story in some way, as opposed to, not only is Teeter going to a mean boss, and they sort of be like, oh, he's mean but he's fair, but she's also a woman going to this boss who
Yeah.
seems to have a real issue when it comes to women. I do not want Teeter anywhere near this dude.
Yeah, and the other thing about it is just he's mean, but he's fair. And then Jimmy's kind of like, but he'll find something to be mean to you about. And it's like, okay, well then he's not fair. He's just mean to be mean, to just, drag people,
Yeah.
because like there's no real reason for it. It doesn't make you a better rancher. You're not like Chef David over on The Bear, who was horrible to
Yeah.
Carmi, and it did end up actually making him a better chef as much as he hates that and hates the idea of that. It's, caused a bunch of other really bad mental health problems for him. He did become a better chef from it, where here it doesn't necessarily feel like Jimmy's getting better because he's being put down the way that he is. He's just learning from a boss who knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
I just am not really getting it.
I don't get it and I don't understand it. And I admit I'm bitter and I don't have any problem saying that I'm bitter because not only did I like Colby, but if I'm just sort of sitting here, I think one of the most interesting possible spin-offs that could have happened from this show was okay, here we have Colby and here we have Teeter. Imagine the two of them trying to start their own ranch where they are like the ultimate underdogs. They don't have a lot of money. They don't have that sort of influence. Watching their relationship blossom, it could have been so beautiful. And it's just like cut off for no apparent reason. And then we got, Taylor telling her to fix her accent. And I'm just not into it at all.
No, and I mean, watching all the bunkhouse boys all scatter out was really hard to watch for me. I
Yeah.
mean, I've really enjoyed the bunkhouse boys and their banter so much on the show. It's one of my favorite parts
Yeah.
about this show. So to see that they're all sort of scattered out, in different jobs in different places, really kind of broke my heart a little bit because I was really hoping for a bunkhouse spinoff. There was part of me that was wondering if maybe Casey was going to take on some of the bunkhouse boys and maybe Rip and Beth were going to take on more of the bunkhouse boys, but it just doesn't seem like it's really kind of going in that direction. They're just gone.
Okay. Taylor, I know you're watching. You don't have 5 other shows you're busy writing at this various point. So
That you're making yourself star in.
yeah, of course. No, you can retcon your own finale. You can be like, you know what? This didn't work. Here's what we're gonna do. Lloyd, no, you're not gonna go talk to the city slickers anymore. That's done. You're going to go back.
It's so weird hearing you say City Slickers considering where you grew up in West Texas.
Okay. Listen, this is why I'm probably a little bit more I get angrier at Taylor with some stuff because, like, my background is I have a lot of family that's out in sort of the Big Spring, Midland, Snyder area. And, like, I'm not a major part of this world, but I know a little bit of this world. And I know how these people think about people from the city. And to see Lloyd, of all people, be like, I'm going to go try to educate these city slickers. I'm just sitting here being like, no, you're not. This is not what's going to happen to you. Like, you need the changes. I just don't think Lloyd would ever do this. And also, if Lloyd did it, he would quit within one day because they would be like, what does a horse do? Or what is a saddle? Like, they would drive him insane.
Yeah, I'm hopeful that if there is a Beth and Rip spinoff, that they will just bring Lloyd on, maybe grab some of the other people to bring back.
Yeah.
Teeter's just out in the universe with Jimmy. Two of the best characters on this
I
show
know.
are just at Travis's ranch, and there is no word as of this recording that there's some sort of 4-6's spinoff coming up where we're gonna have Taylor Sheridan just be the boss of that ranch and watch him bossing around Teeter and Jimmy. So two really important characters are just kind of gone.
Yeah, it's like all of that part of it is a bummer. And yeah, I'm not surprised that we had Lainey Wilson show up again in the finale because, I mean, she's become a reasonably big star. Like, once you get to the point where you're performing halftime at the Dallas Cowboys Thanksgiving Day game, I think you can kind of say to some extent that you've made it. I always love, by the way, the Thanksgiving halftime performers because if the game is miserable and I say this as somebody who grew up watching the Cowboys and they have sucked for so many years, it's just nobody is in the mood to listen to a halftime concert at that point. You're just moaning and groaning, but she's become a big star. And so I'm not surprised that they threw her in. I mean, I didn't love all of it. I wasn't super invested in like that Abby relationship or anything, but I was just like, okay. Fine.
Yeah, I wasn't invested in that relationship at all, if I'm being honest.
No, I just think that really there were parts of this second half of this season that did really feel rushed. And there were certain characters that just didn't get a lot of the time that I think they deserved. And because of that, there were endings that just felt a little bit out of place and felt incomplete. Like, I don't know how much Taylor was thinking about end games for some of the supporting characters while he was putting together this finale, thinking, okay, there'll be a spinoff. Maybe I want to bring X, Y, or Z back.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this potential spinoff for a moment now,
Okay.
because this finale ends where you have Beth and you have Rip. They have this new plot of land. They basically have their own little ranch. I will say this. I'm actually intrigued by this because this is a real, it's not rags to riches because the Dutton family has riches, but I do think it's an interesting story where in Yellowstone they started at the top and now they're kind of not at the bottom, but they are in this position where they don't have any of the money or power they did. Like, what can they do with it?
Yeah, it's a rebuild. It's a rebuild for Casey and it's a rebuild for Beth and Rip. And I feel like the Beth and Rip spinoff we will still see Casey. I think there will still be parts of it that we see them also rebuilding and coming over and all that. I don't think he's just going to be, a wolf in the wind with his family and that'll be it.
The one last thing I will say here is that I kind of liked the 1883 inclusions at the end of this, where you have Elsa's grave, and then you bring back Elsa, the narrator, from beyond the grave to like give her a little spiel. And I will say this though, there was a part of me, especially when they were like looking at the individual graves, I was thinking, are we gonna look at all the individual graves and we're just gonna see all the prequel characters there, and then there's no need to ever watch any of the prequels again?
Right.
I kind of do actually wonder, and you guys could let us know in the comments. It's like, is there as much excitement for the prequels now that we know that kind of the Dutton Ranch is no more and it's gone to rainwater? I mean, is there as much excitement to watch 1923 now?
I think there is. I mean, we had Breaking Bad. We went back in time to have Better Call Saul, which is one of the greatest shows ever made.
Yeah.
And I mean, we knew how it ended for everybody.
Yeah, I think it will ultimately be all right. But yeah,
We're also covering Dexter Original Sin right now. I mean, we're way back in the past with Dexter, and we all know how it sort of ends for him.
That's the ultimate red meat show. It's just like having Ripley, do his ultimate. I'm just gonna do this myself. Any Dexter is just great for us. But that's where we are after the Yellowstone season 5 series finale. It is crazy that this is the end. There's a lot of what could have been had Costner stuck around, but here we are. We clearly have mixed thoughts about all of this.
Yeah, and we want to know how you guys are feeling about it too. Seeing lots of mixed reactions online. Some people feel really satisfied about it, and I completely understand why. They absolutely wrapped up everything that I think fans could want, but there's also a lot of people out there that were feeling a bit disappointed that there wasn't more just oomph with it, something that is going to have us talking about this for years to come.
Yeah, I just think you had an opportunity here to really make a lasting impression, swing for the fences, and it really just felt like they were fine, just kind of hitting a drive down the middle, maybe walking to first base and thinking, okay, we've already done enough to secure our place in history. And sure, I guess, but you could have been something more, and that's just why I'm frustrated right now.
Yes, it was a satisfying, tied up finale, but it was very predictable.
Yeah, so let us know in the comments, but also hit that subscribe button because we are looking to cover other Yellowstone-centric shows moving forward. I'm really curious what in the world the Madison is going to do and how that's tying up because they've said nothing about that. But thank you guys so much. You can support us further by joining our Patreon. Link is in the description. We are covering Dune Prophecy over there exclusively in video form. Thank you so much. We'll see you here next time.